He was arrogant, dangerous, and protected. Until that Friday night. He was on his way to see his girlfriend, a college girl who didn't even know he was a teacher. That's when they got him. 4 bikes pulled up, faces covered, black helmets. One threw a hood over him. They dragged him into a van. He woke up in the forest, tied to a tree, barefoot, cold, with metal wire brushing his skin. You like hurting kids, huh? Calling names? Grabbing them? Here's what's gonna happen. You shut your mouth. You quit. You leave. Or next time, it won't just be your finger. Tell the cops, we'll know. Show your face in that school again, we'll leave marks they'll find 3 years from now. Then they dragged him across the dirt. Not fast enough to kill him, but enough to make sure he never forgot. They left him bleeding under the trees. When the police came the next day, Clive said nothing. My name is Gay. I'm 17. And before you start giggling or judging, let me stop you right there. Yeah, my name is Gay. Short for Gaylord. It's an old family name. Weird, I know. But to my dad, it was powerful. Noble, even. He named me after his grandfather, who fought in 2 wars. And for my dad, a single father raising a kid alone, that name meant something. He always said, "You'll walk tall, son, even if your name gets you strange looks. I'll make sure you grow up proud and safe. Education is your ticket out." My dad was all I had. My mom died when I was a baby. He never remarried, never dated. Just worked 3 jobs to make sure I had shoes on my feet, books in my backpack, and hot food at night. So when he finally saved enough to get me into Factoogle High School, he thought he was doing the right thing. He had no idea the place was run by a lunatic. Mr. Clive. Late, loud, reeking of cigarette smoke and superiority. He walked into class on his first day wearing sunglasses indoors and AirPods in one ear. Most teachers start the year with a lesson plan. He started with a phone in his hand and TikTok on the screen. Y'all better get used to how I do things. I'm not here to babysit brats or listen to sob stories. Keep up or shut up. He didn't teach, he manipulated. His classes were chaotic. He'd throw a few slides on the board, scroll through his feed, and chuckle at reels. Sometimes even inappropriate ones, with girls in bikinis, loud moaning, or worse. Sometimes he'd forget we were even there. And if you asked a question, "Don't waste my time. Google it. You've got phones, right? Use them." He didn't just ignore students. He targeted them, especially the quiet ones. Like Kira, who stuttered. One day she was presenting and stumbled over a word. He didn't let it go. "Girl, are you buffering or just glitching?" The class laughed nervously. Then there was Darren, who wore the same hoodie every day. "Is this your only outfit? Or are you starting a cartoon character arc?" But the worst came when he started picking on me. It was during a history lesson. He randomly asked if any of us had parents who'd been to jail. No one spoke, but I stood up. My dad had a record, yes, from when he was young. But he changed. He raised me right. Yeah, my dad did time, but he turned his life around. Clive smirked. "Well, no doubt gay. I mean, with a name like that. Maybe 2 men gave birth to you in jail. You sure your dad wasn't the pregnant one?" The room went dead silent. I clenched my fists, sat back down. I didn't cry. I didn't react. But that day, something broke inside. The bullying didn't stop there. He'd walk past me and mutter, "Careful, don't drop the soap." Or, "Guess that attitude comes from your prison genes." I didn't say a word at home, at first. But one day, my dad noticed bruises on my arm. Clive had grabbed me during a pop quiz to check if I was cheating. "Who touched you?" "It's fine, Dad." Just a misunderstanding. But he didn't believe me. He came to school. The day my dad came to school was the day everything changed. He walked in with his broad shoulders, stiff and jaw locked like a ticking bomb. Dressed in clean jeans, a worn-out flannel, and steel-toe boots, he didn't look like trouble. But anyone who knew him back in the day knew better. We sat in the principal's office. Mr. Donaldson, fake, polite as always, offered us water and excuses. Dad laid it all out. The insults, the bruises, the humiliation. Everything Clive had said about his prison past. Principal Donaldson sighed. "Mr. Gaylord, we take these concerns seriously. But unless your son has recordings or witnesses willing to speak up, there's not much we can do. Mr. Clive is family. My dad's eyes went cold. Not angry, just silent. That kind of silence that makes the air freeze. When we stepped into the hallway, Clive was standing by the lockers, smirking at a TikTok video on his phone. Dad walked straight up to him. "If my son ever comes home complaining about you again, I promise you, you'll be sorry. Not school suspension sorry, not lawsuit sorry. I mean the kind of sorry you can't fix with money." Clive didn't even blink. He just raised an eyebrow. "That a threat?" Dad leaned in. "No, it's a guarantee." That same week, Clive made his move. During a math quiz, he came behind me and slapped my desk. "Let's see how smart prison kids really are. You finish that in 5 minutes or you fail." The timer ticked down. My hand shook. He stood over me, breathing down my neck. When I missed 2 questions, he tore the paper in half and tossed it in the trash. "Guess it runs in the family." That night, my dad made some calls. To people he hadn't spoken to in over a decade. Former gang members, some still active. The ones who owed him favors from back in the day. The kind of people who don't ask why, just how fast. The next morning, Clive's precious red BMW, the one he bragged about like it was a child, was found in the staff parking lot. Or what was left of it. The tires were slashed, every window shattered. "Kids aren't toys" was spray painted in huge black letters across the hood. And inside, a dirty diaper on the dashboard and a used dog collar with a tag that said, "Leash your mouth." Clive didn't report it. He came in that day fuming, but unusually quiet. 2 days later, he showed up to class with a thick bandage wrapped around his left hand. We heard the rumors before we saw him, that he'd been cornered behind the 24/7 mart late at night, tied up, and his pinky chopped clean off. Not by accident, not in a struggle, surgical, deliberate. Still, he didn't stop. His ego wouldn't let him. That's when they escalated. Meanwhile, Clive kept pushing his luck. He harassed students, made sexist jokes at a young female teacher named Miss Hale. I told my dad everything. Miss Hale was one of the few bright spots in that school. 24, soft-spoken, fresh out of college. She taught English and always carried a thermos of chamomile tea like it was armor. Clive noticed her immediately. He started off with jokes in the staff room. "You know, Hale, the kids don't listen to you because you look like a student. Might help if you wore less cardigans and more confidence." She laughed politely at first, tried to brush it off, but then it escalated. One afternoon, I stayed behind to ask Miss Hale about an essay. As I was leaving, I saw Clive brush past me into her classroom and close the door behind him. Curious, I paused just out of view near the lockers. "You ever think maybe you're too soft for this job?"
I'm not here for your opinion, Clive.
"Oh, come on, lighten up. I'm just trying to help. You're sweet, sure. But sweet gets eaten around here.
If you touch me again, I'll report you."
You'll lose your job. You think anyone will fire the CEO's nephew? I am the damn staff handbook." That night, she cried in the parking lot. I saw her, but she still came to school the next morning. He was arrogant, dangerous, and protected. Until that Friday night. He was on his way to see his girlfriend, a college girl who didn't even know he was a teacher. That's when they got him. 4 bikes pulled up, faces covered, black helmets. One threw a hood over him. They dragged him into a van. He woke up in the forest, tied to a tree, barefoot, cold, with metal wire brushing his skin. "You like hurting kids, huh? Calling names? Grabbing them? Here's what's gonna happen. You shut your mouth. You quit. You leave. Or next time, it won't just be your finger. Tell the cops, we'll know. Show your face in that school again, we'll leave marks they'll find 3 years from now." Then they dragged him across the dirt. Not fast enough to kill him, but enough to make sure he never forgot. They left him bleeding under the trees. When the police came the next day, Clive said nothing. "Sir, you were clearly assaulted. Can you tell us what happened?" I don't want to talk about it." The next morning, he found a note in his living room, written in red marker. "Good. You kept your mouth shut. We're watching." It was signed with a gang symbol. Clive resigned the same day. He left the state, moved to some backwater town, changed his number, left his girlfriend. His car? Never found. Probably being stripped somewhere in the mountains. Miss Hale? Promoted. Kira? Joined the debate team. Darren? Got a scholarship for art. Me? I found my voice. This is Gay speaking. Just a reminder, it's a name, not a punchline. The school clapped. And my dad? He hugged me for the first time in months. Tears in his eyes. You stood tall, just like I knew you would. As for Clive, they say he now works at a call center in Ohio. No teaching, no car, probably looking at that tattoo every morning and flinching. Oh, and to the rest of you watching? If this story made you cheer, cry, or fist pump into the air, moral of the story? If your name is Gay and your teacher's name is Clive, don't worry. Gay always wins. My name is Detective Michael Carter, 20 years in the force, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Criminals always make a mistake. No matter how clever, how patient, how meticulous, there's always that one slip that brings them down. And that's how I caught two of the most dangerous criminals in my city. One crew of sophisticated bank robbers, and one cold-blooded hitman. Their stories twisted together in ways even I didn't expect, and all roads led to one man, the mayor, who thought he owned this city. It started on a humid Friday morning. My coffee was barely lukewarm when the call came in. Unit 7, we've got a silent alarm at First Dominion Bank. Possible 211 in progress. Proceed with caution. Always when I'm about to finish my coffee. I flicked on the siren and sped downtown. When I pulled up, I heard it before I saw it. Shouts, screams, the muffled bark of commands. Everybody down! Nobody moves unless you want your brains painted on the wall. Hands where we can see them. Don't test us. They weren't bluffing. They had AR-15 and shotguns, moving with military precision. This wasn't sloppy. This was trained. Seconds later, 4 masked men burst out the side door, duffel bags stuffed to bursting, guns raised as they scanned. They fired 2 warning shots into the air, scattering pedestrians. Well, good morning, sunshine. They jumped into a silver SUV with stolen plates and peeled out. I floored it. 6 city blocks of pursuit, gunfire cracking out the rear window as they tried to blow my tires. 1 bullet punched through my hood, another shattered a streetlight. These men were serious. Then, halfway across Jefferson Bridge, the SUV slammed on its brakes. A decoy car, another silver SUV, pulled alongside. In the smoke of a tossed flare, they switched vehicles. By the time I cleared the bridge, they were ghosts. The FBI got involved quickly. Millions had been stolen, and the robbers vanished without leaving fingerprints, tire tracks, or even security camera footage, because they'd cut the feeds before walking in. Professional. Weeks passed, no leads. But something gnawed at me. On the bridge that day, right before the decoy switch, I noticed one tiny thing, a bumper sticker. A worn-out, faded bumper sticker on the back of the SUV. It read, "Proud dad of a Lincoln High honor student." Insignificant? Maybe. But criminals are human. Humans have families, habits, blind spots. So I went through school parking lot cameras, cross-referenced vehicles, and found one silver SUV owned by a man named Aaron Wells. His record? Clean. Too clean. He had a wife, a kid at Lincoln High, and ran a consulting business that made no money but kept him conveniently busy. I tailed him discreetly. He lived modestly, paid bills in cash, never showed extravagance. But his eyes, cold, calculating. Weeks passed. I had almost nothing. But one night, I parked outside Aaron Wells's home, one of my quiet suspects. He was calm, professional, ran a clean consulting company, and lived with his wife and son. No criminal record. But my gut told me he was dirty. That night, I searched his trash. Among the coffee grounds and shredded bills, I found burnt scraps of fabric, charred nylon with elastic bands. It looked like the remains of a mask, but it wasn't enough evidence, just suspicion. So I waited. I staked out his home. And then came the break. One night, Aaron's garage door opened. Out he walked with 2 men I recognized from the robbery. No masks now. They carried a briefcase and smoked cigars like kings of the world. I hit record on my dash cam. That job was smoother than silk. Next time, we hit bigger. Not bigger, smarter. Bigger jobs bring heat. We want to last, we move like shadows. Got you, Aaron. All I need is time. A month later, they robbed another bank. Same guns, same choreography. But this time, one of them slipped. He adjusted his mask without gloves, left a fingerprint on the glass door. That one print blew their cover. SWAT raided Aaron's house at 3 a.m. The duffel bags of cash were seized, along with maps, burner phones, and military-grade rifles. You think you're clever, detective? You got lucky. You'll never prove I was inside that bank. I don't need to. Your boy's Prince already sang the song. And Aaron? Shadows fade. While Aaron and his crew awaited trial, another storm hit my desk. A body was found behind a downtown restaurant, 2 bullets to the chest, execution style. The victim? A political aide tied to the mayor's rival. Ballistics screamed professional, and whispers pointed to Victor the Ghost Ramirez, a hitman. Victor had been rumored for years. Always clean, always invisible. But he slipped. His car was caught by a traffic camera, blowing a red light just 2 blocks from the murder. That partial plate was his death sentence. We set a trap. A false alarm was leaked. Kirk, the mayor's biggest rival, was supposedly holding a late-night rally. Victor showed up, dressed in black, pistol with a suppressor in hand, ready to kill Kirk. Police, drop it! He froze. Half a second too long. My team swarmed him. You don't know who I work for. You think you're ready for the storm you just started? Storms blow over, Victor. Prison doesn't. Ballistics tied him to 2 murders, the aide and another businessman who had crossed City Hall. Here's where the sweet twist came crashing down. During interrogation, Victor broke. He confessed that both the robberies and his hits had been ordered by the same man, the mayor. Aaron Wells wasn't just a criminal, he was the mayor's favorite fixer. The mayor funded them, protected them, and used them. The robbers were his financial arm, stealing to fill slush funds. Victor was his blade, removing rivals. The confession rocked the city. Yeah, I killed them. Not for me, for him. The mayor wanted them gone. He gave the orders, he gave the cover. We all worked for him. Wells, me, all of us. The press exploded. Headlines screamed about corruption, betrayal, and blood money. The mayor went from hero to disgrace overnight.
Mr. Mayor, did you order the robberies? Is it true you paid Victor Ramirez for assassinations? Do you have anything to say to the families of the victims?
This is a political stunt. I am innocent. I serve this city faithfully. This is all a lie. But no one believed him anymore. Crowds outside City Hall jeered as he was dragged out in cuffs. Some threw rotten fruit. Others held up signs, blood on his hands, and lock him up. In court, the air was electric. The mayor, Aaron Wells, his 3 crew members, and Victor Ramirez all sat in the same row of defendants. I had seen hardened criminals before, but never such a powerful man sit among them, looking small, broken. The prosecutor laid it out clearly. The robberies were ordered to fund the mayor's secret slush accounts, while Victor's assassinations eliminated political rivals. It was a criminal empire, hiding in plain sight under the shield of city government. During a recess, Aaron locked eyes with Victor across the courtroom. You idiot! You dragged him down with us. You just had to talk. We were always going down, Aaron. Don't fool yourself. The difference is, I'll die fast. You'll rot slow. Aaron cursed under his breath and looked away, fury burning in his eyes. Finally, sentencing day arrived. The courtroom was packed wall to wall. Reporters, victims' families, police officers, even everyday citizens who wanted to see justice. This city has endured betrayal of the highest order. Armed robbery, conspiracy, racketeering, murder. All orchestrated under the watch of a man sworn to protect it. Today, this court will deliver justice. He turned to Aaron and his 3 accomplices. Aaron Wells, Thomas Green, Marcus Boyd, and Daniel Reyes. You are each sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Aaron's wife sobbed in the gallery as he shook his head, muttering curses. Next, the judge looked at Victor. Victor Ramirez, you have been found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit assassination. This court sentences you to death by lethal injection. Victor smirked, leaning back as if the words bounced off him. At least I go out on my feet, not rotting like them. The judge's face tightened, but he didn't respond. Then, silence fell as the judge turned toward the disgraced mayor. Mayor Richard Holloway, you stand guilty of using the power of your office to fund organized crime and to sanction murder. You did not simply fail this city, you poisoned it. You are hereby sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. You will die in prison, forgotten and disgraced. The mayor slumped forward, his face pale, his mouth hanging open as if the words sucked the air from him. No, I built this city, I ran it. You can't do this to me.
You killed my father! Burn in hell!
Bailiffs had to restore order as the mayor was dragged away in cuffs, tears staining his once proud face. The city erupted outside the courthouse. Crowds cheered, holding signs, chanting, "Justice! Justice!" For the first time in years, people felt safe again, because the ghosts in power had finally been dragged into the light. So that's how I caught them. The gun-toting bank robbers who thought they could outwit the law, the hitman who thought he was untouchable, and the mayor who thought power made him invincible. Their empire collapsed on one thing: a burnt scrap of mask, a fingerprint, a traffic camera, and their own arrogance. And me? I finally got to finish a hot cup of coffee. So remember, folks, no matter how clever you think you are, somebody's always watching. And if you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe and like, or else the next story I tell will be about how I tracked down a criminal who stole my last donut. Trust me, that one's brutal.
I had been waiting for a kidney transplant. My health was fragile, my days clouded by exhaustion. Finally, the doctor told me my name was near the top of the donor list. Relief surged through me like light after darkness. That evening, my parents sat me down in the living room.
Claire, we need to talk about your medical fund.
The transplant money? What about it?
We used it.
What? Used it for what?
Matthew got accepted into the European Youth Music Tour. Paris, Rome, Vienna, it's life-changing. This is his chance.
You took my life-saving money to pay for his trip?
Stop being selfish. You'll survive a little longer. Matthew's career can't wait.
That was the day something inside me broke. I realized I wasn't just unloved, I was disposable. If not for my grandmother, I wouldn't be alive today. Grandma was the only one who saw me, not as background, not as disposable, but as Claire. She sold some of her land. My name is Claire, and I can tell you the exact moment I stopped being my parents' daughter. It was the day Matthew was born. I was 4 years old, standing in the hospital room with pigtails and a teddy bear in my arms, excited to meet my baby brother. Mom looked tired but glowing. Dad beamed with pride. They let me peek into the cradle.
That's my boy, my son, our pride.
He didn't look at me. He didn't even notice me tugging at his sleeve, wanting to be held. From that day forward, the spotlight belonged to Matthew. And me? I became the background blur. At first, it was little things. When I drew a picture at kindergarten, Mom would say,
"That's nice, Claire,"
and set it aside. When Matthew scribbled on a napkin, Dad would tape it to the fridge like it was the Mona Lisa. When we both got sick, Mom would sit by Matthew's bed with soup, while I was told to be strong. On my 7th birthday, I got socks and a secondhand doll. On Matthew's 3rd birthday, he got a toy car with flashing lights, balloons, and a backyard party. I learned early that nothing I did mattered as much as his existence. As we grew, the favoritism became sharper.
Claire, do the dishes before bed.
Claire, help your brother with his homework. Claire, get me some water.
If I said no.
Don't upset your brother, just do it.
Once, at age 10, I won a small writing contest. I rushed home, certificate in hand. Mom, Dad, look, I won first prize.
That's good, Claire. But listen, Matthew's soccer coach says he might make varsity in a few years.
My triumph dissolved like sugar in hot water. I remember one time I decided to save my allowance. It wasn't much, just a few coins every week. but I had seen a small diary in the shop window. A simple, leather-bound notebook where I could write my thoughts. After 3 months, I finally had enough. I bought it with trembling hands and held it close, like treasure. That evening, Matthew saw me writing in it.
What's that?
It's my diary. Give it back.
Why do you get nice things? I want one too.
I bought it with my allowance. You can save yours.
No! Give it to me! Now!
He screamed, stomped his feet, and threw himself onto the floor, wailing like the world had ended. Mom and Dad came rushing in.
What did you do to him?
Nothing! He wants my diary!
Then give it to him. He's younger. Don't be selfish, Claire.
But I saved for months.
Stop arguing and hand it over.
With tears burning my eyes, I gave Matthew my diary. He scribbled nonsense all over the pages, then tossed it into the fireplace before bed. That was the first time I realized my dreams meant nothing if Matthew wanted them too. A year later, Grandma gave me a necklace for my birthday. It wasn't expensive, just a small silver chain with a heart pendant. But it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever owned. I wore it every day. One afternoon while I was doing homework, Matthew stormed into my room.
I want to try on your necklace.
No, it's special. Grandma gave it to me.
So what? She likes you more than me anyway.
Before I could stop him, he yanked it off my neck. The chain snapped, and the pendant fell to the floor. He stomped on it until the silver bent out of shape. I cried, clutching the broken pieces. Why would you do that?
Because I can.
When I told Mom and Dad, they didn't scold him.
It's just a necklace. Stop overreacting.
You know how sensitive Matthew is. Don't provoke him next time.
I learned then that Matthew could destroy anything I loved, and they would still call him the victim. By the time we were teenagers, Matthew knew his role, the star, and he played it well. He threw tantrums, demanded things, got away with everything.
I don't even have to try. They'll always take my side.
He was right. At 16, when I asked for new shoes because mine had holes, Dad said,
Money doesn't grow on trees. Stop being spoiled.
That same weekend, Mom bought Matthew sneakers worth 3 times the price.
Matthew can't go to school looking poor. People notice him.
But the lowest point came years later, when I was 20. I had been waiting for a kidney transplant. My health was fragile, my days clouded by exhaustion. Finally, the doctor told me my name was near the top of the donor list. Relief surged through me like light after darkness. That evening, my parents sat me down in the living room.
Claire, we need to talk about your medical fund.
The transplant money? What about it?
We used it.
What? Used it for what?
Matthew got accepted into the European Youth Music Tour. Paris, Rome, Vienna, it's life-changing. This is his chance.
You took my life-saving money to pay for his trip?
Stop being selfish. You'll survive a little longer. Matthew's career can't wait.
That was the day something inside me broke. I realized I wasn't just unloved, I was disposable. If not for my grandmother, I wouldn't be alive today. Grandma was the only one who saw me, not as background, not as disposable, but as Claire. She sold some of her land, quietly paid for my transplant, and sat by my hospital bed while I recovered.
Don't waste your tears on them, child. One day they'll reap what they've sown.
I clung to her words. It wasn't the only betrayal. Months later, after moving out, I scraped together enough savings to buy a tiny 2-bedroom house. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, my first true sanctuary. One afternoon, Dad knocked at my door, Matthew at his side.
We need to talk. You should transfer this house into Matthew's name.
Excuse me? I bought this place with my own money.
Matthew needs stability for his future. You'll marry and move into your husband's house anyway.
No, absolutely not. A week later, I received a court notice. My parents had filed charges against me. False accusations of harassment and aggression toward Matthew. You did this? To your own daughter?
For Matthew, yes.
I nearly lost the house. I fought tooth and nail, drained my savings on lawyers, and barely came out with it intact. That was when I stopped calling them family. Years passed. My health returned. I built a career. Slowly, brick by brick, I carved out independence. Matthew, meanwhile, spiraled. His so-called European tour ended after 1 year. He drifted from gig to gig, drinking, partying, using drugs. My parents kept covering for him, bailing him out of fights, buying him new cars, paying for rehab he never took seriously. It turned out Matthew had been borrowing money from the wrong people. Shady dealers, loan sharks, the kind who don't send polite reminders. He refused to pay them back, bragging that my parents will cover it. But this time, they didn't. One night, neighbors heard shouting at his apartment. The men he owed had broken in. Shots rang out. By the time the police arrived, Matthew was already gone. I still remember the police officer's words at the funeral.
Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, I'm sorry. Your son was found with a fatal gunshot wound. Evidence suggests a drug-related altercation. He owed money to dangerous individuals.
No, my baby wouldn't do drugs.
Ma'am, we found paraphernalia in his apartment. He had been using for months.
Dad collapsed right there, clutching his chest. Mom shook her head, whispering over and over, "Not my Matthew. Not my Matthew." Mom cried so violently she nearly fainted. Within weeks, her health crumbled. Heart problems, depression, fainting spells. I didn't reach out. I didn't visit. I cut them off. Meanwhile, I thrived. I got promoted, I invested, I met a man who cherished me. He was wealthy, kind, and saw me as his equal, not his shadow. Eventually, he asked me to marry him. Our wedding was magnificent. Music, laughter, a hall filled with friends and family who actually loved me. I walked in wearing a shimmering gown, my husband's hand warm in mine. Then came the interruption. The guard stopped two ragged figures at the door. My parents. They looked older, broken, their clothes ill-fitted.
Ma'am, these two say they're your parents. Should I let them in?
The room went silent. Everyone turned to me. My parents' eyes pleaded.
Claire, please, let us in. We just want to see you happy.
We're your parents, honey.
I paused, glass of champagne in my hand, and then I smiled. Cold, certain. I don't know these people. The guards escorted them out. The door shut. As the music rose again and my guests applauded, I raised my glass. Well, I guess karma finally hit subscribe on their lives. Speaking of which, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. And for the first time in my life, I felt free.
Dillard and McKee. Instead of arresting the kid, they dragged a homeless man off the street and framed him. Said he'd been stumbling drunk and caused the accident himself. I slammed my fist on the desk. The wood groaned. A homeless man? They pinned vehicular assault on someone with no car? Yes, sir. They're calling it reckless obstruction. The paperwork looks ridiculous, but they pushed it through. That was the beginning. What those two didn't know was that the Ferrari kid himself, Jeremy Collingsworth, was caught on a local gas station security camera meeting them later that night. The footage showed Jeremy handing over a fat envelope while nervously looking around. This should cover it. You guys said nobody's gonna touch me, right? Relax, kid. You didn't hit anyone. You were home studying. Isn't that right, McKee? Yeah, studying the inside of your Ferrari. But as long as Daddy's money keeps our pensions healthy, you're golden. What about that bum you arrested? Won't anyone figure out he didn't do anything? Nobody cares about him. He's a nobody. We'll write him up for obstruction, public endangerment. Judge will glance at the file and toss him in county for a month. End of story. Guy probably prefers jail. 3 meals and a roof. We're doing him a favor. The footage cut off with Dillard pocketing the cash and patting Jeremy on the back. I never thought I'd sit down to tell this story, but it still haunts me. And it still makes me shake my head at how 2 corrupt cops managed to ruin themselves in ways I could never have imagined. My name's Chief Raymond O'Connor. I've been a cop for 35 years, long enough to see good officers rise, bad officers fall, and a lot of gray in between. But what happened with officers Dillard and McKee? Well, it was karma wrapped in irony, dipped in poetic justice, and served hot. When I took command of the precinct, I knew I had dead weight in the department. Every police unit does. Men who slip a little cash under the table, look the other way for favors, or get cozy with neighborhood toughs. But Dillard and McKee were something else. They weren't just bending rules, they were shattering them, picking through the shards, and selling them to the highest bidder. One Friday morning, I was sitting in my office, half buried under paperwork, when Sergeant Vasquez came in. "Chief, you've got to see this. It's those two again." Which two? Don't tell me. Dillard and McKee. They've been running their little protection racket on the east side, shaking down corner dealers, pocketing bribes, pretending they're keeping order. And last night, sir, it got worse. Worse? How much worse can it get? Vasquez dropped a report on my desk, his jaw tight. One of those spoiled rich kids, you know, the kind who races Lamborghinis through residential streets, mowed down an old woman near 9th Avenue. Witnesses called it in, swore the car was a red Ferrari. Neighbors even pointed straight to Jeremy Collingsworth, son of the construction tycoon. Guess who responded? I closed my eyes. Don't say it. Dillard and McKee. Instead of arresting the kid, they dragged a homeless man off the street and framed him. Said he'd been stumbling drunk and caused the accident himself. I slammed my fist on the desk. The wood groaned. A homeless man? They pinned vehicular assault on someone with no car? Yes, sir. They're calling it reckless obstruction. The paperwork looks ridiculous, but they pushed it through. That was the beginning. What those two didn't know was that the Ferrari kid himself, Jeremy Collingsworth, was caught on a local gas station security camera meeting them later that night. The footage showed Jeremy handing over a fat envelope while nervously looking around. This should cover it. You guys said nobody's gonna touch me, right? Relax, kid. You didn't hit anyone. You were home studying. Isn't that right, McKee? Yeah, studying the inside of your Ferrari. But as long as Daddy's money keeps our pensions healthy, you're golden. What about that bum you arrested? Won't anyone figure out he didn't do anything? Nobody cares about him. He's a nobody. We'll write him up for obstruction, public endangerment. Judge will glance at the file and toss him in county for a month. End of story. Guy probably prefers jail. 3 meals and a roof. We're doing him a favor. The footage cut off with Dillard pocketing the cash and patting Jeremy on the back. That video was later played in open court, and the entire gallery erupted in outrage. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Body cam evidence, later retrieved by Internal Affairs, showed Dillard and McKee taunting Walter Hensley, the homeless man they framed, as they shoved him into the squad car. I didn't do anything. I wasn't even near that road. Oh look, the drunk can talk fancy. You'll love the cell. Plenty of rats to keep you company. You're taking one for the team, old man. Be proud. You just saved a Ferrari. You don't know who you're dealing with. Yeah, sure. You're James Bond in rags. Get used to it, hobo. Later, Walter testified that he had deliberately stayed calm, memorizing every word, knowing that if the time came, he'd burn them with their own cruelty. The fallout began quickly. 2 days later, I got a summons to the courthouse. Judge Kowalski, a man who could snap stone with his glare, wanted answers. I arrived, hat in hand, sweating through my uniform. Chief O'Connor explained to me why 2 of your officers arrested a homeless man for getting hit by a car. Your Honor, I assure you I'm investigating the matter. Investigating? They derailed a federal sting operation. Do you have any idea what Mr. Hensley really is? My heart skipped. I do not, sir. He's CIA, undercover, and thanks to your men, an entire espionage case is hanging by a thread. I felt my stomach drop into my shoes. That's when the CIA walked in. 2 suits, stone-faced, carrying folders thicker than a phone book. They laid it all out. Walter had been tracking Chinese spies laundering money through a series of shell companies in our city. He was weeks away from busting them wide open, but when he got hauled in by my men, the spies went underground, scattering like cockroaches. The suits glared at me as if I'd personally tied Walter up and dragged him to booking. Chief, your officers didn't just make a mistake. They compromised national security. I wanted to crawl into a hole, but the real storm was still coming, for Dillard and McKee. Internal Affairs launched a sting. I approved it myself. Weeks later, the trap was set. A shopkeeper called the precinct, complaining of harassment. Dillard and McKee showed up, just as expected. Cameras hidden in light fixtures and vents captured everything. Dillard leaning on the counter, whispering about safety fees. McKee pocketing cash like it was his God-given right. They laughed about it, even joked about their Ferrari boy being untouchable. Remember Jeremy? Kid nearly painted the street with that old lady. If not for us, he'd be in juvie right now. Yeah, well, he paid the toll. Everyone pays the toll. That's how this city runs.
Please, I can't keep paying you every week. Business is slow.
Then maybe your windows won't be so lucky next time. Think about it. The very next day, more footage caught them pulling over a delivery driver, threatening to plant drugs in his van unless he paid them off. Dashcam and a hidden wire inside the delivery man's uniform recorded the whole exchange. What's in the back smells like trouble. It's just bread. I deliver for Garcia's Bakery. Check the invoice. Funny thing, this little baggie could fall right under your seat. Then suddenly, you're the bread cartel. No, please, I've got kids. 200 cash and we forget we ever saw you. I don't have that kind of money. Then start calling friends, because in 5 minutes, this van's a crime scene. What they didn't know was that the cameras captured every second. When the footage later aired on the evening news, the city erupted. People saw not just corruption, but cruelty, the kind that cuts into bone. I remember watching the video in the IA office, my head in my hands. I trained these men. I trusted them. They trusted themselves more, Chief. But don't worry, karma's coming. And karma came fast. The CIA wasn't content with just disciplinary measures. They wanted blood. Walter Hensley, scrubbed clean and looking nothing like the bum my men thought he was, testified in federal court. His words shredded Dillard and McKee like bullets. These officers framed me, obstructed my operation, and allowed a guilty party to walk free. Because of them, foreign operatives escaped capture. Their corruption isn't just local rot, it's a threat to national security. The courtroom gasped. Judge Kowalski's face turned the color of raw meat. Do you fools understand what you've done? You nearly spoiled an international espionage case to protect some brat with a Ferrari. Your greed might have cost this country dearly. Dillard tried to protest. We didn't know who he was. That's the point. You didn't care who he was. You saw a man with no voice, no home, and you thought he was expendable. Well, turns out he had a louder voice than either of you will ever have. McKee looked like he wanted to vanish into his uniform. The sentencing was brutal. Both men were stripped of their badges, handed prison terms, and thrown to the wolves of public opinion. The media ate it alive. Corrupt cops frame, CIA agent, blow espionage case. And karma didn't stop at prison walls. Dillard, once so smug, got jumped in the yard by inmates who didn't appreciate ex-cops. McKee's wife filed for divorce, taking the kids and the house. Word spread that the Ferrari kid's father, the tycoon, refused to lift a finger for them, too busy protecting his business image. They had sold their souls for bribes and kickbacks, and in the end, nobody wanted to buy them back. As for me, I stood before my precinct the day after sentencing, my men silent, waiting. 2 of our own chose greed over duty. They thought they could play gods in this city, but they ended up pawns in a bigger game. Let this be a warning. If you wear this badge, you serve the people, not yourself. You fail that, and the badge will crush you. The room was grave. Some officers nodded. Others looked shaken. But they all understood. The days of easy corruption were over. Walter Hensley, the undercover homeless man, came to see me once more before leaving town. He was cleaned up, hair trimmed, suit sharp. We didn't know who he was. Funny thing, Chief, they thought I was invisible. That was the point. But you know what? Invisibility only works one way. I saw everything they did. I'm sorry for what happened, Walter. Don't be. They exposed themselves, and now my job's easier. The Chinese operatives, they think they got away, but we're still watching. He shook my hand, and I swear I felt a chill. The man had lived among shadows so long, he carried them with him. Years later, people still ask me about Dillard and McKee. I just tell them this. They thought they could protect the powerful and crush the powerless. They thought bribes and kickbacks were safer than honor. But they didn't realize the powerless man they crushed had more power than they could imagine. And when karma came, it came wearing a badge sharper than theirs. As for the Ferrari kid, using the video we obtained from the gas station, I sent my men, and he was arrested. We charged him, and he was fined a huge sum of money, which his dad had to pay, while he also served a few months in juvie. The father was further ordered to cover the medical bills of the woman he had knocked down. So yeah, that's the story of how 2 corrupt cops tanked their careers, ruined their lives, and nearly derailed national security. All for a Ferrari kid and a handful of dirty bills. And hey, if you like this wild ride, do me a favor. Don't go framing CIA agents, don't drive Ferraris through neighborhoods, and definitely subscribe and like the video, because unlike those two, I actually want people to watch me on purpose.
It was a rainy Friday. I was 13. Janine had forgotten to pick me up from my after-school art club again, so I walked. My sneakers slid on the slick sidewalk. Then, out of nowhere, a bike barreled into me, the handlebars slamming into my ribs before I hit the road. The next thing I remember was darkness. Cold. Machines beeping. I was in a coma. For days, I teetered between life and death. My dad visited, held my hand, but he looked tired, distant. And Janine? She stood at the back of the room every time with that fake concern plastered across her face. Until the day I almost died. Janine told the doctor,
She's been like this for a week. My husband has other children to think about. He doesn't need this hanging over his head. Just pull the plug.
A nurse named Clara overheard. God bless her. She delayed the process, stalled paperwork, even called my Aunt Sharon, my mom's sister, who stormed in and demanded to take charge of my medical care. She saved my life. My name is Naomi Carter, and I used to believe my dad was my hero. After my mom died when I was 10, it was just the two of us for a while. Dad was lonely, broken. He cried more than I did. He tried his best to raise me right, but the house always echoed with silence until he finally found love again. Her name was Janine. Blonde, perfect teeth, wore pearls to parent-teacher meetings. My dad met her at a corporate mixer a year after Mom passed. She had a son, Kyle, and a baby girl on the way. Dad married Janine quickly, eager to give me a complete family again. At first, Janine was sweet, loving, always smiling. She'd call me sweetheart and make cookies when Dad was around. But when he wasn't, she turned cold, distant, calculating. Dad worked in another state. He was gone Monday through Friday, only coming home on weekends. That gave Janine all the time in the world to show me who she really was. I tried. God knows I did. I smiled at her stupid casseroles and forced myself to play nice with Kyle, even when he mocked the photos of my mom that I hid under my bed. But Janine didn't want a daughter she hadn't birthed. She wanted me gone. One night, I crept downstairs for water and heard her on the phone.
Don't you see? She's in the way. Once she's out, Emily gets the full inheritance. Kyle, too. That brat is a loose end.
I told my dad. I told him everything I heard. Dad, she wants me gone. She said it on the phone.
Naomi, you're grieving. Maybe you're just imagining things. Janine loves you. She told me herself she sees you as her own.
No, she didn't. And I found out just how much when the accident happened. It was a rainy Friday. I was 13. Janine had forgotten to pick me up from my after-school art club again, so I walked. My sneakers slid on the slick sidewalk. Then, out of nowhere, a bike barreled into me, the handlebars slamming into my ribs before I hit the road. The next thing I remember was darkness. Cold. Machines beeping. I was in a coma. For days, I teetered between life and death. My dad visited, held my hand, but he looked tired, distant. And Janine? She stood at the back of the room every time with that fake concern plastered across her face. Until the day I almost died. Janine told the doctor,
She's been like this for a week. My husband has other children to think about. He doesn't need this hanging over his head. Just pull the plug.
A nurse named Clara overheard. God bless her. She delayed the process, stalled paperwork, even called my Aunt Sharon, my mom's sister, who stormed in and demanded to take charge of my medical care. She saved my life. When I woke up, my dad was at my side. Janine was nowhere to be seen. He looked relieved and guilty, but guilt doesn't erase ignorance. Once I recovered, Janine made my life a waking hell. While pretending to be the loving stepmom in front of others, she turned me into a maid behind closed doors. She gave Kyle my room. I was moved to the attic.
You should be grateful we didn't send you to boarding school.
She'd make me clean the toilets, cook breakfast, iron Kyle's clothes, take care of her baby Emily, who screamed every time I touched her. Then she took things further. One afternoon, I came home from school to find Dad fuming. Janine was crying.
I found money in her drawer, a whole $100. She stole it from my purse.
I didn't. I swear on Mom's grave.
Why would you do this, Naomi?
I was already branded the troubled child, but Janine wasn't done. One evening, Janine screamed from the nursery. She came rushing down the stairs holding Emily.
I caught her with her hands around the baby's neck. I swear she tried to strangle Emily.
What? That's a lie! Dad's face turned white with horror.
Get out! I can't do this anymore. You need help, Naomi.
1 week later, he dropped me at Aunt Sharon's. Said he hoped time away would help. I didn't cry when he left. I didn't beg. Something inside me had hardened. I stayed with Aunt Sharon and Uncle Victor. They were kind. They believed me. And slowly, I healed. I went to therapy. I wrote pages and pages of everything I felt, disguised as fiction. I published stories online under a pen name. People loved them. They paid for them. By the time I turned 21, I was paying Aunt Sharon rent, had over 500,000 followers, and enough money saved to buy a place of my own. I never reached out to Dad, until he reached out to me. It was a voicemail. His voice cracked through my speaker.
I was wrong about everything. Please call me, sweetheart. I need you.
He had stage 4 kidney failure, needed a transplant. Janine wasn't a match. Neither were Kyle or Emily. Then came the bombshell. He found out Emily wasn't even his child. Turned out Janine had been sleeping with her ex-boyfriend before and after the wedding. They both planned to pin the child on my dad so Janine could secure the marriage and the money. But it unraveled. A DNA test, done in secret, confirmed it. Worse still, Dad later learned the child wasn't even Janine's ex's either. Apparently, they made it all up to trap him. When Dad confronted her, she broke down, cried, begged, lied, screamed, but something in him snapped. He played her like a fiddle.
I forgive you, but we need to get back on our feet. Let's save, work hard, let's build our dream together again.
So she got 2 jobs, waitressing at night and retail in the day. She saved every penny into a joint account Dad opened under her name and his. Every penny she saved, he siphoned. He changed the house deed. He rewrote his will. And on her birthday, as they sat down for dinner and she expected a gift, he slid a white envelope across the table.
What's this?
Divorce papers. Happy birthday.
She wailed, threw wine in his face, threatened to kill herself. He calmly walked away. Then he found me. We met at a small cafe. He looked old, tired, but his eyes, those same eyes I remembered from childhood, were wet with tears.
I was blind. I let her poison me. I almost lost you forever.
Do you believe me now? He nodded. We hugged. For the first time in a decade, I felt the safety of my father's arms again. He moved in with me for a while. I wrote about our story online, not with names, but raw truth. It went viral. Meanwhile, Janine spiraled. Without the money, the house, or even the lie she built her life on, she crumbled. Kyle fell into the wrong crowd. Drugs, petty theft. He eventually landed in jail for armed robbery. Emily, now a teenager, wanted nothing to do with her mother. She moved in with her maternal grandmother. And Janine, she worked 2 jobs, lived in a dingy apartment, and cried herself to sleep most nights. But I wasn't done. I found out where her ex-boyfriend lived, the one she schemed with. I hired some guys, friends of a friend, to pay him a little visit, just to teach him a lesson. They didn't kill him, but let's just say he won't walk the same way again. I watched from a distance as Janine came to visit him at the hospital. Her makeup was smeared and her fancy clothes were gone. She looked exactly like what she was, a gold digger who lost everything. And me? I'm still writing. I bought a new house. Dad's doing better. His transplant is scheduled soon, and I'm a match. Funny how life works. He nearly let me die, but I saved him. Because the one thing Janine never understood about real family is that it's not built on blood or lies. It's built on forgiveness, truth, and love. She can keep chasing her fake dreams. I already won. Oh, and if you loved that little plot twist, subscribe for more. Revenge makes for great content.